My name is Captain Leila Sarpong. I am 36 years old. I have been a signals intelligence analyst for 11 years. And on a Wednesday morning in April, I discovered that my name had been removed from every operation I had contributed to over the past 3 years. Not one operation, not two. Every single one. 14 operations, 3 years of work. All of it still in the system. Reports intact. Analysis intact. Recommendations intact. My name gone from every page, replaced by the name of an officer I had never heard of. Captain Marcus Brew. I found this because I was preparing my promotion portfolio, a standard process. You compile your operational record, you document your contributions, you submit it for review. I had opened my service record on a secured terminal on a Wednesday morning, expecting to find 3 years of documented analytical work. What I found was 3 years of documented analytical work bearing someone else's name. I sat at the terminal for a long time. I did not close the files. I read through every one. The work was mine. I knew it the way you know your own thinking, the analytical framework, the conclusions, the way certain assessments were structured, all of it mine. The name at the top of every document was not. I opened a search on Captain Marcus Brew. He existed, a real officer, currently posted to a base I had never served at. His official record showed 14 operational contributions over the past 3 years. Every one of them was mine. I should note, I had not opened my service record in 8 months. Filed reports lock on submission, and analysts do not routinely reopen their past records. The system is designed to prevent post-filing alterations. The same lock that prevents tampering means you rarely go back in. 8 months was not unusual. 3 years of name replacements happening in that lock window was how this had gone unnoticed. Let me tell you what the work actually was. Signals intelligence analysis is patient work, methodical. You process large volumes of intercepted communications. You identify patterns. You assess significance. You produce reports that go upward through the chain and become part of the picture that informs operational decisions. You rarely see the decisions that follow. You rarely know what your analysis contributed to. You simply do the work and file the reports and trust that somewhere the picture is being assembled correctly. Over 3 years, I had contributed to 14 operations, some significant, some routine, all of them carefully documented, all of them the product of hundreds of hours of analysis. That work had informed real decisions. Those decisions had been attributed to a man who had not been in the room. The object at the center of everything was my original draft files. Every analyst keeps working drafts, the documents that precede the final report, notes, iterations, discarded lines of analysis, the interior of a conclusion before it is presented cleanly. These drafts existed on my personal secured drive. They had not been altered. My name was on every one. Timestamps consistent with the dates of the operations. The drafts were the proof that the final reports had originated with me. I copied everything to an encrypted personal device before I did anything else. Because 11 years of working in intelligence had taught me to secure what you have before you move. Then I called Colonel Helen Addo. Addo answered on the second ring. I described what I had found in 4 sentences. Promotion portfolio review, service record accessed, 14 operations over 3 years. My name replaced throughout by Captain Marcus Brew. Addo was quiet for 9 seconds. Then she asked one thing before she said anything else. She asked, "The drafts. Do you still have them?" I said yes. Copied. Encrypted. Personal device. She said, "Keep that device with you. Do not connect it to any base system. Do not access your service record again. Come to my office now." I was at her office in 7 minutes. Addo's office. She closed the door. She sat across from me and listened while I walked her through what I had found. The 14 operations. The name replacement. Marcus Brew's record. The drafts on my personal drive. She asked when I had last accessed my service record before today. 8 months ago. A routine check. She asked whether I had noticed anything unusual in my working environment over the past 3 years. I thought about it. There had been one thing. 18 months ago, my commanding officer at the time had restructured the division's reporting process. Final reports had begun going through an additional administrative step before filing, a review layer described as a quality assurance measure. I had not questioned it. Quality assurance reviews were not unusual. Addo asked who administered the additional review step. I told her. She was quiet for a moment. Then she said she needed me to wait. She made 2 calls from her desk phone, both brief, both conducted in a voice too low for me to hear clearly. Then she sat back down and told me what she already knew. She had known something was wrong for 6 weeks, not about my record specifically, about Captain Brew specifically. Brew had been nominated for a significant commendation 3 months ago, based on his operational record. 14 contributions over 3 years. One member of the Commendation Review Board had questioned it. Not because the work was poor, because the volume was implausible. An officer at Brew's base with his access level and posting history would typically contribute to 4 or 5 operations over 3 years. 14 was anomalous, not impossible. But the gap between what his posting should have generated and what his record showed was wide enough to flag. The board member had raised it quietly. Addo had been asked to investigate quietly. She had been investigating for 6 weeks. She had not yet found the mechanism. I had just handed it to her. I want to pause here. Because sitting across from Colonel Addo, understanding that my 3 years of work had been stripped of my name and used to build another officer's career, is the moment this story became something I had not anticipated when I opened my service record on a Wednesday morning. If you have ever discovered that something you built had been taken and placed under someone else's name, drop a comment below and subscribe right now, because what Addo's investigation found in the following weeks and what happened to everyone involved is the part that changes everything. The investigation ran for 3 months. The mechanism was the additional review layer introduced 18 months ago. The officer who had administered that review layer was a major named Conrad Tawiah. He had been my commanding officer's administrative deputy. He had access to all analytical reports before they were filed. The review step had given him a window, typically 48 hours, in which final reports existed in the system before being locked as official records. In that window, he had been replacing names. Not randomly, selectively. The reports with the strongest analytical conclusions, the ones most likely to draw favorable attention from senior review boards. He had been replacing those names with Brew's. Addo found the connection between Tawiah and Brew in their communication records. They had served together 7 years ago. The relationship had continued. Tawiah had been building Brew's record deliberately. Brew had known. He had not performed the analysis. He had not filed the reports. But he had known his name was being attached to work that was not his. Both men had understood that a strong enough operational record would position Brew for a senior analytical role that carried significant authority and access. They had been building toward it for 3 years, using my work, and the work of 2 other analysts whose records I had not known to check. When the investigation broadened, it found that Brew's 14 attributed contributions had come from 3 different analysts. My work was the largest portion. 3 analysts, 14 operations, 3 years, all of it feeding one fraudulent record. The Commendation Board had paused Brew's nomination when Addo's investigation began. The nomination was formally withdrawn when the investigation concluded. Brew was charged with fraud and conduct unbecoming an officer. He pleaded guilty. He is serving 4 years. Conrad Tawiah was charged with fraud, abuse of administrative access, and conduct unbecoming an officer. He pleaded not guilty. The trial lasted 6 weeks. He was convicted on all 3 charges. He is serving 7 years. My service record was fully restored. All 14 operations, my name, my analytical contributions, accurately documented. The corrections were made on a Tuesday afternoon in July. A quiet administrative process. No ceremony. Addo told me by phone. She said, "It is done. Your record is accurate." I said, "Thank you." She said, "The work was always yours. The record just needed to catch up." The 2 other analysts, their records were corrected simultaneously. I had not known them before the investigation. I knew their names now. We had never met. We had worked in separate divisions across 3 years, and our work had been harvested from the same administrative review process without any of us knowing the others existed. We exchanged one message through official channels after the corrections were made. One of them wrote, "I kept my drafts too." 3 words. I understood exactly what she meant. The habit of keeping working drafts, the instinct to preserve the evidence of your own thinking before it goes anywhere. An instinct that had probably been trained into all 3 of us by years of working in environments where documentation matters. That instinct had been the thing that made the corrections possible. If we had not kept the drafts, there would have been nothing to prove the work had originated with us. The drafts were the proof. They had always been the proof. We had simply not known we would need them. Marcus Brew, I thought about him sometimes during the 3 months of the investigation. A real officer, capable enough to have built a legitimate career, who had chosen instead to let someone else build a fraudulent one in his name. I do not know what he told himself about it. I do not know how a person accepts credit for 3 years of work they did not do and maintains whatever picture of themselves makes that acceptable. I do not need to know. The record is corrected. His name is no longer on my work. Mine is. That is the part that matters. The promotion portfolio. I submitted it in September, 4 months after the Wednesday morning when I had opened my service record expecting to find 3 years of documented work, and had found 3 years of documented work bearing the wrong name. The portfolio contained everything. 14 operations, my name, my analytical contributions, accurately and completely documented. The promotion was approved in November. I did not make a fuss about the timeline. I did not point out that the promotion should have come earlier if my record had been accurate throughout. I did not calculate what 3 years of fraudulent attribution had cost me in terms of career progression. I submitted the portfolio. I waited for the outcome. I moved forward. That is the discipline, not the absence of anger. The decision to spend your energy on what comes next rather than on what was taken. The work was always mine. The record caught up. Everything else follows from that. Here is what a promotion portfolio and a name that was not mine taught me. Keep the drafts. Not because you expect to need them, not because you assume someone is replacing your name on your work, because the drafts are the proof of your thinking, the record of where the conclusions came from, the evidence that the work originated with you. In 11 years of signals intelligence work, I had kept every draft out of habit. The instinct to preserve the working record, to maintain the evidence of the process as well as the product. That habit, built over 11 years without ever needing it, was the thing that made 3 years of corrections possible in 3 months. Keep the drafts, even when there is no reason to think you will need them, because the reason will not announce itself in advance. It will arrive on a Wednesday morning when you open your service record to prepare a promotion portfolio and find 3 years of your work bearing someone else's name. And on that morning, the drafts will be the only thing that matters. Drop a comment and tell me your story. I read every single one. And subscribe. I am here every week with a new story. She kept the drafts. She always had. That was the only proof that was ever needed.